So we are talking about the movie simply called Temple. Now, this is the second Americans in Asia kind of ghost movie that I've reviewed this month. So let's talk about this one. This one's directed by Michael Barrett, and it focuses on three Americans as they travel to Japan to basically have some time out, etc., go for a bit of a holiday and such. And whilst they're there, they discover there is this kind of like remote temple that the female in the group kind of wants to go visit. And they are repeatedly told this is bad news, there's a bad juju in this place. However, they ignore the warnings and go there to discover it has obviously a dark past. Let's discuss this one. So Michael Barrett actually is a cinematographer by trade, and this is actually his first directorial debut. So the actual film itself really benefits from an eye that has worked in the kind of the cinematographer trade for a long time. So it looks particularly well shot. However, this film, I've got to say, story-wise, was a little bit lacking for me. The first thing it does, it has one of those annoying tropes that has where you have a scene that takes place in kind of a modern now, basically, and then the majority of the story is then told in flashback. So you already kind of know who kind of makes it out. So it really kind of deflates the tension, I always feel. I mean, it's not quite the end, but the second thing I find will annoy people is there's just this kind of like, again, the cliche of, Americans in this case going into a foreign country, literally ignoring all the warnings and just kind of going and getting themselves in trouble anyway. It's this kind of the typical trope that we've seen again in so many times. Now, the movie Ghost House that I mentioned earlier on, they are kind of more manipulated into it, so I can kind of give that a pass on that one. But this one, they don't. And the actual conceit here is that they find this temple, which is basically a drawing in a journal, and the girl goes, "Oh, I want to go to that temple." Why specifically that temple? It's literally drawing in a book. And it just looks like a basic temple. It doesn't look like anything special. I don't really know why they've really want to go to this particular temple. Well, I'm sure there is plenty of temples in Japan, and why suddenly go for this one, which is literally a basic drawing in a book? Seems a little bit of a conceited idea to get them there, if you ask me. I also don't like the cliche of having an odd number of people and having this kind of weird like love triangle sort of situation that's going on, or at least hinted at. I mean, who is ever going to go on these things in an odd number with a kind of like, one girl and two guys and stuff like that? Again, it's a cliche that I kind of hate in these type of films. Why not pairs, or why not three guys or three girls? I mean, whoever goes in these odd numbers of weird, mix and match sexes, it just doesn't make sense to me. I've never seen that in real life, or very rarely anyway. Anyway, I feel like I'm ranting. Now, this is actually a relatively short film. And the first half of the film is essentially set up. When we get to the actual temple, like I said, it looks great. It's actually quite slight in the actual regards to the supernatural stuff. But I've got to be honest with you, although I thought the effects looked okay here, we do have a kind of reveal of a quote-unquote monster. And I've got to say, it looks quite laughable, particularly when it's running through the woods. I wouldn't say it necessarily looks like crap special effects, but the design here, I don't know, it doesn't really work, I don't think. The other frustrating thing here, I feel, is going to be the ending. It kind of ends on an odd note, and I feel would be a little bit unsatisfying, unless you don't really feel like you've got the kind of the complete story, so to speak. And it's obviously trying to, leave you, wondering what happened and stuff like that. But it just comes across as a little frustrating. The performances, I don't think, were too bad. I think I really like the Japanese actors here. Actually, I thought they all did a pretty good job. The American actors aren't too bad. I mean, the girl just tends to kind of smile and kind of laugh, basically. But she's not. It's not bad acting, really. But there's not much to it. They don't really have a character arc as such. I've got to say, the trailers for this one made it look pretty good. Although I don't think it's necessarily a bad film, it's just so trite. It's very cliche, and the actual story here is disappointingly simple and with tropes that you've seen all before. Like I said, it's a great looking film. I'm not quite sure how I feel about some of the designs of the kind of the supernatural stuff, shall we say. Or it either looks ridiculous or stuff you've kind of seen before. I actually quite like the way that this film is partially spoken in Japanese as well. Obviously, it takes place in Japan, so it kind of makes sense. But you will get some of these films where people in other countries will be speaking English. I kind of like the fact that probably about at least a third of this movie is spoken in Japanese. But overall, it was a disappointing experience. But overall, this is definitely probably not one I would suggest that you have to see unless you really like kind of like Asian horror. There's a lot of obviously Japanese kind of talent being behind and obviously in front of the camera. But overall, I've got to give this a subpar review, 4 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.